Daniel Borcaro was authorized during Bolsonaro's government to make deductions from Brazil's social security system. Master made hundreds and thousands of improper deductions from retirees and pensioners in Brazil's social security system. And Alfredo Gaspar, Flávio's running mate in the Parliamentary inquiry report, didn't list Daniel Borcaro as one of the suspects. He didn't list him. And he went there and listed Lula's son to create the whole hoax. And it ended up with the federal police. And the federal police didn't find any evidence against Lula's son. Regarding the fraud involving Brazil's social security system, let's watch a video here, where Marcelo Freixo explains why Flávio Bolsonaro, it's not even Marcelo Freixo, it's Congressman Rogério Correa with other congressmen here. Why did Flávio Bolsonaro choose Alfredo Gaspar as his running mate? He's paying a debt. According to the three congressmen here, look, pay attention.
When Alfredo Gaspar is chosen as Flávio Bolsonaro's running mate, it's a payment for services rendered. To protect Bolsomaster's criminal scheme of the INSS theft and the connection of these financing schemes with dirty money for the Bolsonaro family's campaigns.
He shameless. He warned the president of CONAFA to run when the federal police were after him with a court order against the entity that had stolen the most and to arrest its president. He warned him during the CPI, right, Rogério? You remember that scene where he warned the guy? I heard that he's in a certain place. Look, he just ran away and still hasn't been arrested because of Alfredo Gaspar to protect his Bolsonaro's friend. Letícia, Flávio Bolsonaro's partner, is the sister of the partner of the bald guy from INSS. Everyone is involved in the scheme. Simply, Alfredo Gaspar didn't include her in the report. He didn't want her to be investigated. He didn't want her to be indicted. Pure protection, a total cover-up. That's why he got the reward of being nominated for vice president, but he also shielded more people. Didn't he, Rogério?
Yes, it was a smoke screen they created the whole time. They kept changing the subject. But the main issue, which was finding out who stole from the retirees and putting those people in jail, that they didn't do. They shielded that Letícia, they shielded the bald guy's brother, they shielded Pastor Zetel, who was Bolcaro's partner, they shielded Bolcaro. Our requests were never put to a vote. Collusion between Alfredo Gaspar and Flávio Bolsonaro. That's why the reward, right, to now be the Bolsonaro's candidate.
Did you know that he also didn't include in the report the guy, the pastor, who was also his partner, the brother-in-law, who donated to whose campaign, Pimenta? To Zetel?
The largest individual contribution to Bolsonaro's campaign and Tarcísio de Freitas' campaign was from Zetel, Bolcaro's brother-in-law, protected during the parliamentary inquiry by Carlos Viana and Alfredo Gaspar.
Just Google it and you'll see the guy is even in jail, but not because of the rapporteur's action. He simply also didn't seek to indict the donor to Tarcísio's and Bolsonaro's campaigns. But even so, he's in jail because of a court decision. So the shielding was total, all done by the rapporteur.
Yeah, payment of debt, this situation, collusion, a criminal organization that wants to take power and become president of the republic. And I'm noticing that YouTube is holding back my views, you know? The only way we can reach more people is if you share the live stream. Is it holding back? It's holding back. It shouldn't be like this. With a headline like this, with a bombshell like the one I'm sharing with you, which you hardly ever see in the mainstream media, we have less than 4,000 people watching live. Central, send the link to the live stream. I'm asking you to share it, because if we don't engage, we are in trouble. Social media won't push this content either. It won't spread the truth I'm telling you here. The big tech companies won't do that. You have to do it. Buy it. How, Andre? By sharing, grabbing the link, sending it to WhatsApp groups, and going all out. It's already started. If you don't wake up, look, you're already in the middle of the war, and things are already getting crazy everywhere, and to take down Lula. Look here, Flávio Bolsonaro says Dark Horse is a thing of the past and tries to link the master case to Lula again. And when confronted by journalists about the demands made by the Workers' Party to detail the production expenses, the senator replied that it already happened. The accounting has already been done. Flávio said he saw in the press the very financial report that was made for the film and was leaked from the case file, that they responded and saw that everything was in order. What the hell is this? The guy who took the money! Then he says he saw the financial report on television. Guys, what is this? Does the guy think we are idiots, morons? Work? No, for God's sake, guys. He has to account for it. Or are we going to put a criminal in the presidency? No way. So, Flávio, you won't either. No, you won't. No, you even lose your way home. Then people started talking. Everyone started talking about this situation here. Look. Let's put some statements here. Let's see Freixo's.
Guys, look, check out this latest one from Flavio Bolsonaro. It was today. Pay attention, it's a gem. Look.
Guys, what can you say about this, sir? Any idea when that accounting will be submitted? Look, it already happened because I even saw it. I saw it on G1. The actual accounting that was filed for the film was leaked from the case, and they saw that everything was in order. Now, the one who needs to give explanations is Lula, not me.
Hey, Flávio, what does Lula have to explain then? This movie, Dark Rose, is about your father, right? It's not about Lula. And more than that, it's Vorcaro's money, your buddy. But let me be objective, Flávio, so you can understand. Just 4 questions, since you said you don't have to answer anything else. You said you were going to answer. And time goes by, and you don't answer. But I'm going to make your life easier. 4 questions for you to answer. I even wrote them down. Here's the first one. Let's go. Why was a production company that never made any movies chosen by you to make a major production? Why this production company? So answer objectively. That wasn't answered. If you can't answer, improvise. Second question. Let's go. Why is the budget for this movie twice as much as any movie listed at the Oscars? Why? Second question, answer. Third question, let's go. With all that money, a lot of money, you fail to pay extras and suppliers, and the food served to the employees who worked on the movie was spoiled. That's the accusation that's out there. And the last question for you to answer or dodge, your choice. Let's go. The last question is this. Vorcaro, remember Vorcaro, Mafia Bank, your buddy whom you called asking for money for this movie, he gave 61 million for the movie in the United States. But the movie was shot in Brazil, man. So what happened? Answer up or squirm? Man, if you're going to answer, I don't know. But the federal police are looking for that answer. And from what it looks like, you're not involved in a movie, you're involved in a soap opera. And the ending might not be happy for you. Guys, look at this. The latest from Flavio Bolsonaro.
Yeah, guys, the guy has to explain. He doesn't explain, and he still wants to put the responsibility on others. And the prosecutor general just said that Lula's son has nothing to do with the INSS fraud. The prosecutor general. Oh, and what about Lulinha? Where's the accounting, Flávio? You were caught red-handed, demanding 134 million from Daniel Vorcaro. You weren't asking, you were demanding. Then you had to confess that you all received 61 million, if you didn't receive even more. And you said the money went to the movie, to a fund in Texas, which is managed by Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer. There in Texas, where Eduardo lives in a $6 million mansion. Who's paying the bill? Where's the accountability report? And you know what makes me even more upset? It's that André Mendonça still hasn't requested the lifting of Flávio's bank secrecy. There should have been a request to lift the bank secrecy of Flávio and Eduardo Bolsonaro, at the very least. And also of Carlisto, who's responsible for the fund. There should have been, but there's nothing. And André Mendonça is going to drag this out until the election is over. If Lula wins, then he'll go after it. If Lula loses, he'll shelve it. That's what they're doing. And they're working to shield Flávio to the detriment of Lula, so that Lula loses. But we're talking here, look, Bulus also spoke about the situation. This situation, right? Terrible. And they're trying to smear Lula. That's what they are trying to do. Notice here.
Here, a lot of people from our side are asking, hey, how are we going to respond to the accusations against Lula's son? Hey, guys, hold on a second. Lula's son, Flavio, is being investigated by the federal police independently. The president said the investigation will happen, and if he did something wrong, he should pay, no matter who it is. Meanwhile, the one pointing fingers at us with his dirty hands is the son of the guy who, when he was president, Bolsonaro, did everything to save his own son, Flavio. From the investigations in Rio de Janeiro, connections with the crime office criminal network, the salary kickback scheme, the association with Marielle's murder, he ordered the dismissal of the federal police superintendent, the head of the federal police, and the minister of justice. All of this is documented. This is not a conspiracy theory. In other words, on one side, you have those who investigate, and on the other side, you have those who sweep things under the rug. And are we the ones who have to be on the defensive? The one who needs to explain himself is Flavio Bolsonaro. Why did his father cover up all the investigations against him, removing the entire structure, the team, and those responsible for the investigation in the federal police and the Ministry of Justice? The one who needs to explain himself is Flavio Bolsonaro, about the 61 million from Dark Horse. Everyone knows that money wasn't for a movie, that 3 months ago he said he would release the spreadsheet and all, but he didn't. He didn't release anything, and today he cynically said it's a closed chapter. There's no reason for our side to be on the defensive, man. We have to go after this bunch of traitors to the country. I see a lot of people on our side asking, man, how are we going to respond?
And so we have to go after them, guys. We have to go after them. Regarding Lulinha, so André, what was left in terms of the investigation? You just said that the Attorney General cleared Lulinha, saying he has nothing to do with the INSS fraud. That's true. The Attorney General just said that. That Lulinha has nothing to do with the INSS fraud, with the bald guy from INSS. Just like the Lula government doesn't either. What's left of the investigation against Lulinha? There's still something left. There is. What is being investigated now is whether Lula's son was involved in influence peddling with a businesswoman. This businesswoman was trying to sell cannabidiol to the Ministry of Health, so that the government, the Ministry of Health, the SUS, would, make cannabidiol oil available to people, which today is used in very specific situations, and it helps seizures, panic attacks, and a number of situations where this oil is really good for these people. Then this businesswoman tried to sell this cannabidiol oil to Brazil's public health system, to the government there, at the Ministry of Health. But she couldn't do it. Then, in several situations, she would say she was speaking on behalf of Lulinha's son, Lula, Flávio, but Flávio himself, with his phone, with his own voice, never showed up in anything. Lulinha's defense says that this woman was using Lula's son's name to try to get this contract with the government, but that Lula's son never had any involvement, nothing to do with this woman, that she was falsely using his name. So much so that she wasn't able to get the contract with the government. She didn't get the contract with the government that way. That's why I say, if there had been any go-between, any illicit favoritism, any situation like that, guys, she would have gotten the contract. She would have, André, she would have. Unfortunately, we know that's how it is. She didn't get the contract. It was because, very possibly, according to the defense of Lula's son, she used it in a dishonest way. Dishonestly, trying to gain influence in the government, saying that she was representing and speaking on behalf of Flávio, Lula's son. If she had, she would have succeeded. Well, we know that this happens. If she didn't succeed, it's very likely that she was lying. She was trying to see if she could get a contract with the government, and she didn't succeed. So this investigation continues. This investigation continues. But it has nothing to do with no connection to the INSS fraud, according to the Attorney General himself. Do you understand? Now, the herd will keep lying on social media. Flávio Bolsonaro will keep bringing up Lulinha because he doesn't want to be held accountable. And the fact is, what I'm telling you right now, they're trying to use this politically to see if Lula doesn't win in the first round and if Flávio manages to get the presidency of the Republic. That's what they're doing. It's clear. After the elections are over, if Lula is re-elected, everything will be filed away. Everything will be archived. That's what's happening, okay? Let's see another statement from Congressman Lindenberg Farias. Have you liked the live stream yet? No? Like the live stream. It's very important. When you like the live stream, YouTube automatically recommends it to more people. All right? So smash the like button. Look here.
Bolsonaro lied again about Orcário and Banco Master. Check out what he just said in this interview.
The actual financial report that was shown in the film was leaked from the case. In response, it turned out everything was in order. Now the one who needs to give an explanation is Lula, not me.
Man, he wants to underestimate other people's intelligence. It's impressive what kind of parallel world he lives in. Listen to what he says. Where were the evidence presented, Flávio Bolsonaro? Where? Then after that they were leaked and everyone saw that everything was correct. Those of you watching my video, have you seen this? The evidence, the proof that everything was perfectly fine? Nothing. He lies blatantly. He clearly has an intellectual limitation and hides behind these lies. And he goes further. He says Lula is the one who has to answer for Banco Master. What do you mean, Flávio? Banco Master grew during Bolsonaro's government. It was Roberto Campos Neto. It was after Campos Neto left and Galípolo took over that Banco Master went into extrajudicial liquidation. Now, come on, guys. Share this video because we have to put pressure on the federal police, on Minister André Mendonça, so this investigation can move forward. We can't allow that in an election period like this. They start making selective leaks to harm one campaign or another. In this case, what we want is a real investigation. One of the biggest corruption scandals in the history of Brazil, which is Banco Master, which is completely linked to Flávio Bolsonaro, who is running for president. So it's not allowed, and we will not accept any kind of move to cover up the case and protect Flávio Bolsonaro and the corruption at Banco Master and Volcaro.
And I'll say more. The turning point, pay attention to this, everyone. This is very important. The turning point in this election so that we don't have another Lava Jato to bring down Lula. It will be social media. It will be social media. The corporate media is bashing Lula. There's no evidence, there's nothing, but they're just talking about Lulinha and the bald guy from Brazil's Social Security Agency and this and that and whatever else. It's those of us on social media who are going to balance the scales. We're the ones bringing the truth. I keep looking and thinking, guys, the world doesn't spin, right? The world flips over. This press here, corporate, it boasts, it has the gall, it's arrogant to say that they are professionals, that they are this and that and whatever. And look at you now, how you've changed. Small channels like mine. Yes, my channel is small. No, I know it has over 1,300,000 followers. Yes, but compared to a Globo or a CNN, my channel is very small. It's this tiny. And this channel is the one showing the truth. Those who they say no, they have no commitment to the truth, no commitment to serious professional journalism. I don't know what. It's the YouTube channels. Look, from YouTube, big techs are also being beaten by our competence. That are showing the truth. While the mainstream media is doing everything it can, desperate, so that Lula doesn't win the election, so that Lula doesn't win in the first round. This is so blatant, guys. It's so clear that you just have to watch TV. You see what I'm talking about. Then you say, no, Andrea, but they even talked about what you mentioned. Yes, but the problem is the headline. In the headline, they put Lulinha and Lula as being involved. Then, inside the article, that's where they explain the same thing I'm explaining. In a somewhat ambiguous way, but it clarifies. Most Brazilian people only read the headline. They don't read. They don't watch hour-long videos like this. And it turns out that headlines often overshadow the truth. And the headline is ambiguous. The headline is meant to bring down Lula. And most of the Brazilian population only pays attention to the headline. We will be the game changers in this election. The progressive channels will be the game changers. Why? We are bringing out the truth. At least I am. I'm not saying here that Lulinha is a saint. No, he's being investigated. If he is guilty in this situation of influence peddling, he has to be held responsible, convicted, and he has to pay for what he did. And that's what Lula himself says too. Because Lula didn't do what Bolsonaro did by interfering with the federal police. Bolsonaro interfered with the federal police. Sérgio Moro was fired by Bolsonaro. And Sérgio Moro left saying that Bolsonaro was interfering with the federal police so his son wouldn't get caught in the salary kickback schemes. Sérgio Moro. There's a video of Sérgio Moro saying that. Lula doesn't interfere with the federal police. And Lula says that Flávio, his son, has to give an explanation. And if he did something wrong, he has to be held accountable. Here's a big difference too. Lula is also interested in having this resolved. Now, let's not be naive. This situation is being used to attack Lula. Don't be naive. Don't. The Brazilian elite who control the media. They're behind this because they don't want Lula. Especially if he wins in the first round. It's interesting, very interesting. Yesterday I was watching the news, there was a journalist there. She wasn't comfortable about having to talk and having to keep hammering on the Lulinha issue. She wasn't. What do you mean by that, Andrea? She doesn't want Flávio Bolsonaro. Between Flávio and Lula, I'm sure she'll vote for Lula. So she wasn't comfortable having to keep hammering on that. You could see it on her face. But they're there and they're paid. And what they say is what's written right in front of them. Whatever appears in front of them to read is what they have to say. And someone stays here with an earpiece in their ear saying, look, do this, look, do that, look. And then what's written there, they have to read what's written there. Not us. I don't have anything written in front of me. What I'm saying is what I researched, is what I studied, is what I looked into in depth. The elite controls Brazil's TV networks. Brazil. And the TV networks are working so that Lula is not re-elected. And there are people in Brazil's Superior Electoral Court and in the Supreme Court also making a whole mess there to drag things out until the election to see if they can shield Flávio and bring down Lula. Put it there, neither the father nor the son. Bolsonaro never again. Do you know what never again ever means? Never again, never again. You forgot about the more than 750,000 deaths. There's more reaction here about Flávio's lies and this whole mess. The right-wing congressman, right-wing, Otônio de Paulo. Look at what he said here.
Did you see what Flavio and Bolsonaro said? Pay attention.
I saw it on G1. The actual accounting report that was shown in the film was leaked from the case. The one who was responding wasn't so correct.
The one who has to give an account is Lula, not me. He's the one who receives Augusto Lima and Borcaro there, making promises.
He's saying that the accounting report for his father's film, Taki Rossi, was leaked and everyone saw that everything was correct. Flavio, what world do you live in? How cynical can you be?
It's already been over 90 days since you promised to present the report on what was done with the 61 million reais you received from the biggest fraudster in Brazil's banking system.
Your friend, Daniel Borcaro, who you pretended you had never seen in your life, and all of Brazil saw the closeness you had with this criminal, Daniel Borcaro. Now, do you think everyone is a fool? You say it leaked and everyone saw it was all correct. Correct how, Flavio? Nothing. Stop trying to shift what happened to you and trying to draw some parallel with what's happening with Lula's son. I'm not here defending Lula's son, no. I just want you to understand that Lula's son is not a candidate for president, man. The candidate for president is you, and you're representing the right wing that is always called the PT thieves. There has to be opportunity, man. There has to be opportunity, man. No one here is a fool. You didn't explain anything, you bum. Explain to me. Explain to me what you get with 61 million.
And you actually asked for 134 on the blade. I know who you are. But do people from Rio de Janeiro know who you are? You pickpocket, and you think we're fools. I won't let it slide. I won't let it slide. All right, like I said, I have it with Fernandez. And there's no point in saying I'm Lula. No point in saying I'm PT. I'm a true right winger who doesn't side with criminals. With you.
Hey! I think it fits. Flávio, pickpocket. Does it fit, folks? If you think it fits, write it in the chat. If you think it doesn't fit, that's fine. But I think it fits. Flávio, pickpocket. And by the way, the expert contradicted Flávio Bolsonaro. What? Because Flávio, guys, where have you ever seen an accounting report for the movie? Where? For God's sake, if there's anywhere that has an accounting report for the stolen money that Daniel Vocaro gave to the movie, and we don't even know if it actually went to the movie. Why don't we know? Because there was no accounting report. If there had been an accounting report, we would know. And Flávio said, it's already resolved because there was an accounting report. Where was this accounting report? There are accounting records for the movie. There's an accountant responsible for the movie, André, at least one. There could be more. By law, every movie has an accountant who is responsible for it. At least, where is the accountant? Who is the movie's accountant? Where are the invoices? Where are the payments? Where are the names of the investors? Because it wasn't just Daniel Vocaro who put money into the movie. What are the names of the investors who invested in this movie? And how much did each one contribute? And because the law firm of Carlisto, Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer, promised that whoever invested at least $1 million in the movie would be guaranteed a green card. Hello? Yeah, did you forget about that? I didn't forget. That businessman, the one who invested at least $1 million in the movie, would be guaranteed a green card. The Intercept found out about this, and it was leaked. Who are the businessmen who invested in the movie, and how much did each one invest? Daniel Vocaro is just another. Where is the accounting? There wasn't any. And Flávio lied, saying that there had already been an accounting. That's a lie. There wasn't one. Okay? Look here. A dark horse expert refutes Flávio Bolsonaro. The money from the movie still hasn't been explained. Anísio Castelo Branco admits that the analysis mentioned by Flávio Bolsonaro did not check market prices, nor did it trace the money after payments to suppliers. The federal police requested new data about the movie, and more than that, the federal police requested that Interpol be brought in, and that the United States government be asked to share information about this fund in the United States. And they are waiting for this information. So how was there any accounting? Now, of course, if Flávio, Eduardo Bolsonaro, Karina Gama, the producer at Go Up, the company that produced the film, the executive director, the federal deputy, Mário Frias, if they wanted to be accountable, they would present the documents. They would do a live stream with the documents. Obviously, we would want to see the documents, right? Yeah, of course, because we know how these people are, right? But that didn't happen. Not even that happened. They didn't even try to sweet talk the crowd. Look, soon you'll say, André, you're giving them ideas. But that's the bare minimum. They didn't even do that. Not even a live stream to show documents and say, this is accountability and blah, blah, blah. They didn't even do that. They didn't even try to sweet talk the crowd. Because in our case, they wouldn't get away with it. Then you might say, no, André, but why didn't they even do that? Get the codes. If they do that, they'll be producing evidence against themselves. Because later, all of this is already being investigated and will be investigated further. And if they say something that's a lie in this situation, it already proves their bad faith. That's why they don't do it, and that's why they won't do it. Unless it's at the last minute, at the very last moment, before the election, to see if it sticks. But that's producing evidence against themselves, because they know how much they have to hide, and the mess involving this Daniel Vorkar mafia. That's why they didn't do it. And Flávio comes and says he's already answered for it? Where exactly did he answer for it? Who did they answer to? Because I don't know about it. They didn't even do a live stream to explain themselves to their supporters, because that would serve as evidence against them. So, for God's sake, now there's Flávio in swim trunks, right? Look at these crazy people. Jesus, God, homeland, and family. Yeah, Flávio Bolsonaro is the one who posted that AI-generated video, him in swim trunks, right? In white swim trunks. Ridiculous. Leonel Hadi had to talk about this here, guys. For God's sake. I really liked what he said. Pay attention here. Pay attention.
White swim trunks, in little white swim trunks, sitting on the wall in little white swim trunks, my love, dating. How beautiful, Ia, about Flávio Bolsonaro in little white swim trunks, right? That physique that not even his mother thinks he has. But he on the internet manages to create an AI image where he's all buff, handsome, with a presidential sash, drinking an energy drink and wearing little white swim trunks. Actually, it could be the big swim trunks from Big Brother for Caro. I think that would be more suitable for Mr. Flávio Bolsonaro. But what catches my attention the most, besides the ire in terrible taste, or is it an ire? Fake news, maybe one of the biggest fake news that Flávio Bolsonaro has ever shared about his physique, about his looks, is exactly the claim that he's anti-system. That he couldn't build an allied base to run in the elections because he's the anti-system one. And then the system is trying to harm him, attacking those who are in the Centrão, who are under investigation, and that if they supported Flávio Bolsonaro, they would then be ostracized and punished by the Supreme Court. So the very malicious judiciary decided to attack the one who is anti-system. I just want to remind you how much the Bolsonaro family is anti-system. Jair Bolsonaro started in the army. In other words, he is the system itself, the state itself, and he was expelled from the army. He practically left through the back door because he tried to commit a terrorist attack, was arrested, and then he got the privilege of going into the reserves, leaving through the back door. What does he do? He becomes a city councilman in Rio de Janeiro in 1989. In other words, the anti-system family has been making money from the system since 1989. Then, in 1993, who gets the cushy little post? Jair Bolsonaro's wife, Rogéria. From 1993 to 2001, Mrs. Rogéria, who is the mother of 01, 02, and 03. Wow, she stays there as the anti-system councilwoman of the Bolsonaro family. In 2001, who gets the cushy council seat? Carlos Bolsonaro, in anti-system politics since 2001. Then, in 2003, Flávio Bolsonaro takes office as a state representative. Also anti-system. More than 23 years in the system. Then, in 2015, who else gets a position in the system? Eduardo Bolsonaro takes a post in the system. After Eduardo, who comes next? Jair Renan comes, the one who scammed the bank and is now being tried for corruption and organized crime because he robbed the bank. It was Santander Bank, he used some fake documents, took the money and disappeared with it. Now Jair Renan is facing charges for that. But Jair Renan is also anti-establishment, a councilman, and now a candidate as well. But it's funny how this anti-establishment family is always inside the system, winning elections within the system. The father was already president with the system, but now we have to vote for Flavio Bolsonaro because he's the anti-establishment one. He's the one who managed to buy 37 properties as an establishment politician. So can someone explain to me, as a state representative, because he's been a senator for 8 years, but since he was a state representative plus the 8 years as a senator, right? Anti-establishment senator. I want to understand how it's possible to buy 37 properties while receiving public money as a representative. That's the big question mark we should be focusing on. Or how is it possible, anti-establishment senator, to finish paying off a 6 million real mansion, which some say would actually cost 15 million reais? And he financed it for over 20 years and managed to pay off those 6 million reais in less than 2 years. That's a lot of merit for an anti-establishment senator, for an anti-establishment candidate. It always catches my attention how much those who fight the system manage to get rich from that same system. Stay there, and especially, right? Don't do that anymore, Flávio Bolsonaro. No, don't do it anymore. She was creating false expectations in people with her physique and her tiny white Speedo for Carou's big swimsuit. Thank you very much. In a tiny Speedo.
Put it up, my handsome and my beautiful. Vorcarão's big swimsuit. In fact, a lot of people have already made AI videos, right? He used artificial intelligence, putting Vorcaro behind him in a Speedo too. The buddies hugging each other in Speedos and all that. Because, I mean, it's ridiculous, right, guys? But don't be fooled. Flávio Bolsonaro is going to keep acting like this, posting ridiculous things. Why? To create a smokescreen. Yeah, because while they're busy with his ridiculous videos, right? He doesn't answer. To the big question, where did the money stolen from Daniel Vorcaro go, and where did the money stolen from Daniel Vorcaro go? They received it. Where's the 61 million, Flávio? You were asking for the rest, totaling 134 million from money stolen from Daniel Vorcaro. Where's the money? Where's the explanation? He'll keep resorting to absurd, ridiculous antics with those idiotic little dances. And by the way, he dances really badly. For God's sake, if you want to dance, at least practice a little to get better, right, Flávio? Whoa! For what? To create smoke screens and avoid answering what really matters, what we actually want to know. Where's the money from Daniel Vorcaro's mafia? And get ready. I heard that another bombshell is about to drop, involving Flávio Bolsonaro. and things are going to get intense. I'll talk more about this on the 12:30 p.m. live stream. I ask you to like the live stream. When you like the live stream, YouTube automatically recommends it to more people. There's no way around it. And grab the link and share it. And take a look at the first comment, okay? I'll be back at 12:30, at 8 p.m. I'll be back at 4:30 p.m. I'll be here. And at 10 p.m. I'll also be here. I'm doing my part. You do yours. Like, comment, and share. Smash that like button. See you soon. Take care. Lula is what? Go ahead and post it. And there are people who are more lost than a blind person in a shootout. Lula is a 4-time winner, and you all are going to have to swallow it. Kisses. See you on the next live stream. Take care. Bye-bye.